I want you to imagine, for a second, the most terrifying, high-stakes conversation you could possibly have.
Okay.
And I don't mean, asking your boss for a raise, and I definitely don't mean breaking up with a partner. I mean literally sitting across the table from death himself.
Right?
And you're not there just to plead for your life. You're there to ask him, point blank, what happens next? What actually happens when the lights go out?
It is the ultimate question, isn't it? I mean, that's the one that haunts every single human being, usually at about 3 in the morning.
Exactly.
And it is the engine that drives the text we are exploring today. We are doing a deep dive into the Katha Upanishad.
And I have to admit, when I first saw the title on our list, I was bracing myself for something incredibly, well, dry.
I can imagine.
Dusty ancient philosophy, maybe some lists of rules, some chanting instructions. But this reads like a movie script.
It really does.
It's got a rebellious teenager, a furious father, a journey to the underworld, and 3 wishes. It's practically a fairy tale, but one with some very, very heavy existential weight.
It is remarkably narrative for an Upanishad. Most of these texts are their dialogues or monologues on the nature of reality. But the Katha anchors its philosophy in this very human, very relatable drama.
And that's on purpose, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. That drama serves a specific purpose. It's a bridge.
A bridge between what and what?
Between the old world and the new world of Indian thought. You have to see, this text captures a moment in history where the entire culture is transitioning.
Right.
So on one side, you have the old world, the external world of rituals, of fire sacrifices, of bargaining with gods for more cows and, for rain.
The transactional stuff.
Exactly. And on the other side, you have this emerging internal world, a world of psychology, of early yoga, and the search for a type of immortality that doesn't just mean living a really long time.
So it's a shift from how do I get rich and successful to something more like who am I, really?
Precisely. That's the pivot.
Before we meet the characters, can you give us a little orientation? Where does this text actually come from? If I walked into a library of ancient wisdom, which shelf is this on?
So historically, the Katha Upanishad belongs to a specific school called the Kathaka school of the Black Yajurveda.
The Black Yajurveda, that sounds ominous.
It sounds cooler than it is, I promise. It essentially just refers to a collection of texts that are a bit more disorganized or mixed compared to the white school.
Okay.
But the whole vibe of the Yajurveda is practical. It's basically a handbook for rituals. It's usually very, very concerned with doing things exactly right to keep the cosmos spinning.
And that's why this is so different.
That's why this text is so surprising. It comes from that rigid ritualistic background, but then it pivots to something deeply, deeply mystical.
And the story itself, it isn't brand new to this text, right? I read it existed before.
That's right. The core narrative actually appears in an older text, the Taittiriya Brahmana. But in that older version, it's more of a folktale.
A good story.
A good story, exactly. The Upanishad takes that old story and just injects it with what I like to call metaphysical secret sauce. It turns a story about a boy and his dad into a complete map of the human soul.
Well, let's get into that story. The opening scene is something I think a lot of people can relate to, even thousands of years later. It's a generational clash.
A big one.
We have a father, Vajasravas. He's sometimes called Uzan. And he is performing this massive, flashy, religious event. What is he actually doing?
He's performing a ritual called the Visvajit, or the sacrifice of all. And the concept is, it's right there in the name. To demonstrate your ultimate piety and your detachment from the world, you are supposed to give away everything you possess.
Everything. Like empty the bank accounts, sell the house, give away the car.
Total liquidation. Every single thing. You give it all to the priests. It's a way of buying spiritual credit, if you will.
So you give up all your material assets in this life in exchange for what? A high place in the next one?
A high place in heaven. It's a very transactional view of spirituality. Do this, get that.
Okay, so on paper, this guy looks like the holiest man in town. But there's a problem. His son is watching.
Yes, his son, Nachiketa, he's a young man, probably teenager, maybe a young adult, and he's watching this whole spectacle, and he starts noticing the details.
Yeah.
He looks at the cows his father is donating to the priests.
And I'm guessing these aren't prize-winning cattle.
Far from it. The text is actually quite savage here. It's very specific. Nachiketa sees that the cows are old, they're decrepit, they're completely useless.
Useless how?
The source text describes them as cows that have drunk their water, eaten their grass, milked out their milk, and are barren.
So he's giving away the junk. He's literally clearing out the garage and calling it an act of ultimate charity.
He's trying to game the system. Exactly. He wants all the prestige of the sacrifice of all without any of the actual sacrifice. And this is where the character of Nachiketa becomes so fascinating. The text says that faith, or the Sanskrit word shraddha, entered into him.
Now, hold on. When we say faith in English, we usually mean believing in something without proof. I have faith it will rain tomorrow. Is that what's happening here? Is he just suddenly feeling religious?
No, and this is a crucial distinction to make. In the Vedic context, shraddha isn't blind belief. It's closer to, well, integrity is a good word, or sincerity. It's the alignment between what you say you believe and what you actually do. Nachiketa is suddenly possessed by this overwhelming desire for truth. He sees his father's hypocrisy, and it physically bothers him.
It's not just an intellectual thing.
Not at all. He realizes that if his father gives these useless gifts, the result of the sacrifice won't be heaven, it'll be disaster. He's actually worried for his father's soul.
That's a twist. So he's not just being a bratty teenager criticizing his dad from the sidelines. He's actively trying to save him from a spiritual scam of his own making.
Right. He knows that in their world, a botched sacrifice is way worse than no sacrifice at all.
So in a moment of teenage boldness, he decides to call his dad out. But he does it in a very clever, almost passive-aggressive way.
He inserts himself directly into the logic of the ritual. He goes up to his father and he asks, "Father, to whom will you give me?"
Oh, that is sharp.
Isn't it?
Because if you're giving away everything, well, it implies you have to give away your son, too. He's a possession, technically.
Exactly. He's forcing his father to confront the lie head on. He asks it once. His father just ignores him.
Of course.
He asks it a second time. Still silence. He asks a third time. And the father, who is probably stressed out, humiliated in front of all the priests, and just furious at being exposed by his own kid, he just snaps.
He loses it.
He yells, "To death I give you!"
Wow. I mean, we've all heard parents say things like, "Go to your room," or "Get out of my sight," but "Go to death." That is next level.
It is. And here's the huge problem. In the Vedic world, speech has power, especially during a sacrifice. You can't just say, "Oh, I didn't mean it. I was just tired and angry."
There are no takebacks.
No takebacks. Once the words are spoken by the sacrificer, they become a reality. The father is immediately horrified, but Nachiketa, he accepts it.
He accepts it.
Right.
He doesn't try to argue or say, "Come on, Dad, you didn't mean that."
No. And this shows his incredible maturity. He reflects on the nature of life. He says, look, everyone dies eventually. Like grain, mortals ripen and fall, and like grain, they're born again. He basically says, "Don't worry, Dad, I'll go. Keep your word."
So he just packs his bags and literally walks to the abode of Yama, the Lord of Death. This isn't a dream sequence or a metaphor.
In the logic of the story, no, it is a physical journey. But when he arrives at the house of death, we hit a very awkward snag.
Which is,
the master of the house isn't home.
He's out. He's out collecting souls. Clocked out for the day.
Presumably on the job, yes. So Nachiketa, this young Brahmin boy, sits on the doorstep of death and waits for 3 full nights.
Without food or water.
Nothing. He's basically staging a sit-in at death's door.
That's incredible.
And this sets up a massive cultural crisis for Yama, for death. In ancient India, the laws of hospitality are paramount. They're cosmic laws.
Right.
A guest, especially a Brahmin guest, is described as Vashvanara, which means a burning fire. If you don't feed him, wash his feet, and offer him water, that fire literally burns up all your merit.
So ignoring a guest isn't just rude, it's actively self-destructive.
It's dangerous. The text says that a Brahmin fasting in one's house destroys hope and expectation, friendship and joy, sacrifices and sons. It completely ruins the host's future.
So when Yama finally gets home from his shift and sees this starving kid on his porch,
he is terrified.
Death is terrified of the boy.
He's terrified of the spiritual consequences of his negligence. He immediately starts apologizing. He offers water. He washes Nachiketa's feet. And to make amends for this huge breach of protocol, he offers 3 boons.
3 wishes.
1 for each night the boy waited.
Okay, so now we are in classic fairy tale territory. The genie in the bottle, or in this case, the reaper with a cosmic checkbook. 3 wishes. Now, if I'm Nachiketa, I'm thinking immortality, super strength, maybe a map to a treasure.
The obvious choices.
Right, but Nachiketa is different. What is his first wish?
His first wish is incredibly grounded and just emotional. It reminds us that at the end of the day, he's just a kid who had a terrible fight with his dad.
So what does he ask?
He asks that his father's anger be appeased. He wants to know that when Yama finally releases him back to the world of the living, his father will recognize him, won't be angry, and will welcome him home.
That is surprisingly sweet. He's using a wish from the Lord of Death just to fix his relationship with his dad.
It shows his character, doesn't it? He's not selfish, and Yama grants this immediately. He says, "Your father will sleep peacefully tonight. His anger will vanish, and he will be happy to see you released from the very jaws of death."
Okay, one down. Wish number 2, he's got to go bigger now.
Wish number 2 is a bit more technical, and this is where we see that old world influence creeping in. Nachiketa asks for the knowledge of the fire sacrifice.
The fire sacrifice.
Specifically, the ritual fire that leads to heaven and a kind of immortality.
Explain that to me. Why does he need to ask death for that?
Well,
didn't his dad just try to do a sacrifice?
His dad did a sacrifice, but remember, he did it badly. He botched it. Nachiketa is asking for the secret knowledge, the precise code.
The source code?
The source code, that's a great way to put it. In the Vedic mind, these rituals were like complex machines. If you arranged the bricks of the altar in the exact right geometric pattern and said the mantras with the exact right intonation, you could literally build a stairway to heaven. He's asking for the blueprint.
So he wants the cheat codes to the afterlife.
Essentially, yes. And Yama is delighted. He's like, finally, someone who speaks my language. Rituals. I know about rituals.
He's on solid ground here.
Totally. So Yama teaches him the arrangement of the bricks, how many there are, how to stack them, and Nachiketa, being a brilliant student, repeats it back perfectly.
Wow.
And Yama is so impressed by this kid's memory and intelligence that he gives him a bonus. He says, from now on, this specific fire sacrifice will be named after you. It will be called the Nachiketa fire.
That's quite an honor. So I want to pause here. So far, Nachiketa has secured a happy home life with his dad, that's wish 1, and a guaranteed first-class ticket to heaven through ritual. That's wish 2.
He's covered all his bases.
He has won the game of life according to his entire culture.
Yeah.
He should be done, right? Why is he still sitting there? Why use the third wish?
Because he realizes in that moment that heaven isn't enough. And this is the pivot point. This is where the Katha Upanishad stops being a manual for rituals and becomes a philosophical masterpiece.
What do you mean not enough? Heaven sounds pretty good.
Yeah. He realizes that even if you go to heaven, eventually your good karma, your merit, it runs out and you come back. It's temporary. It's a nice hotel, but you have to check out eventually. He wants to know what lies beyond the entire system.
So he asks the third wish. And this is the one that stops the show.
This is the one. Nachiketa looks at death and says, there is this doubt about a man when he is dead. Some say he is, that some part of him exists. Others say he is not, that he just ceases to be. Teach me the truth of this.
It sounds so simple, but he's basically asking, is the soul real? Is there a self that survives the complete dissolution of the body and the personality?
And death. He freezes. He absolutely does not want to answer this question.
Why? Is it a secret, or is it just too hard to explain to a mortal?
It's both. Yama starts backpedaling hard. He says, look, even the gods of old had doubts on this point. He tells the boy, it is too subtle. It is not easily understood. Please, Nachiketa, choose another boon. Ask for anything else. Do not press me on this. Release me from this contract.
He's begging the kid to let it go.
He is. But Nachiketa is stubborn. He's brilliant. He says, wait a minute. If even the gods have doubts about this, and if you say it's hard to understand, then there is no better teacher than you to explain it. No other boon is equal to this one.
He's got him cornered. Logically cornered.
Completely. So Yama switches tactics. If he can't talk him out of it, he'll try to buy him out of it. He starts throwing bribes at the boy. And these are not small bribes.
Okay, let's hear it. What's on the table?
Everything a human being could possibly desire. Yama says, choose sons and grandsons who live 100 years. Choose herds of cattle, elephants, gold, and horses. He offers him a vast empire on earth. He says, choose to live as long as you want. I will make you the king of the world.
That is tempting.
Yeah.
You mean wealth, power, long life? Most people would sign that contract right there on the spot.
But Yama isn't done. He gets even more specific. He brings out the celestial pleasures. He says, here are lovely girls with chariots and lutes. Types of women that mortals can never obtain. Take them. Let them wait on you. Go have a party for the next 1,000 years. Just do not ask me about dying.
He's offering the ultimate distraction package.
It's everything. It is the ultimate pleasure. But
Mhm.
Nachiketa looks at all this luxury, all this promise of pleasure, and he isn't moved in the slightest. His response is absolutely scathing.
What does he say?
He says, "These things endure only till tomorrow."
Oof, they endure only till tomorrow. That's a reality check from a teenager to the Lord of Death.
He tells death, "Keep your dance and song to yourself."
Mm-hmm.
He realizes a fundamental truth that most of us spend our whole lives trying to ignore. No amount of wealth can make a man permanently happy because you ultimately have to leave it all behind.
Right.
He asks this amazing question. He says, "Who could rejoice in a long life after scrutinizing the shortness of life compared to your timeline?"
He's basically saying, why would I want to play in the sandbox for a few more hours when I know the tide is coming in and going to wash it all away anyway?
Precisely. And this refusal, this is the final test. Yama realizes he isn't dealing with a normal seeker. He has found someone worthy of the highest truth, because Nachiketa has successfully distinguished between two crucial Sanskrit concepts, shreyas and preyas.
Okay, let's go deep on this. Shreyas and preyas. Because this seems like a framework we can actually use today.
Absolutely. Preyas is the pleasant. It's what gratifies the senses right now. It's the sugar rush. It's binge watching the entire season. It's the immediate dopamine hit of getting a like on social media. It feels good in the moment.
It's the path of least resistance. It's the easy choice.
Yes. And shreyas, on the other hand, is the good. It is what leads to true welfare and long-term evolution. Shreyas is often difficult.
Like what?
It's the workout when you're tired. It's the difficult conversation you need to have to clear the air. It's saving money instead of spending it. It doesn't always taste sweet instantly, but its result is freedom.
And Yama says most people fail this test. They pick the pleasant.
He's brutal about it. He says the vast majority of humanity chooses the pleasant and misses the goal entirely. He describes people who chase preyas as fools dwelling in the very midst of ignorance, staggering around like blind men led by the blind.
That image of the blind leading the blind that comes from here, I had no idea.
It's one of the earliest known uses of it, yes. Yama says that because people are so distracted by the glitter of the world, they fall into the trap of believing that this material world is the only thing that exists.
What you see is what you get. Philosophy.
Exactly. They think this is the world, there is no other. And because of that ignorance, he says, they fall under his control again and again.
From death to death. Meaning, if you identify with the stuff that dies, your body, your wealth, your status, you die with it. Over and over.
You're stuck in the cycle. But because Nachiketa rejected the bribes, because he chose shreyas over preyas, Yama agrees to teach him. He agrees to finally answer the third question. And now, we shift gears into the deep dive proper. We enter the philosophy of the Atman, or the self.
So, Yama starts explaining this self, and he immediately makes it sound completely impossible to understand. He says it's finer than the finest, larger than the largest. How can it be both?
It's the language of paradox. He's trying to break the linear logical mind. He has to. He says this, self sits still, yet it roams afar. It lies down, yet it goes everywhere.
Okay, stop there. How can something go everywhere if it's sitting still? That sounds like a riddle. Is he just trying to confuse the kid?
Think of it like consciousness itself. Your body might be sitting in a chair right now listening to this. That's sitting still. But your mind, your awareness can travel instantly to your childhood home or to the moon or to a fantasy future.
Oh, okay.
The witness inside you is vast and unbound, even if the body is small and fixed in one place. Yama is trying to point Nachiketa toward the thing that is aware of the experience, not the experience itself.
And he uses that famous line about the killer, right? That was always stuck with me.
Yes. If the killer thinks he kills, if the killed thinks he is killed, they do not understand. He says it neither kills nor is it killed.
Now, I have to push back on that a little bit, because if someone punches me, it hurts. If someone kills my body, I'm pretty sure I'm dead. It sounds nice, poetically, to say I can't be killed, but in the real world, biology says otherwise.
And Yama would agree with you. Your body can absolutely be killed. Your personality, your memories, they can be destroyed. But he is arguing that you, the essential observer behind your eyes, is not the body.
So what is it?
It's the energy that animates the body. Think of it this way. If you break a light bulb, the glass shatters. But have you destroyed the electricity?
No, the electricity just isn't manifesting there anymore. It's still in the circuit.
Exactly. The Atman is the electricity. And to help Nachiketa visualize this incredibly abstract idea, Yama gives us the most famous analogy in all of the Upanishads, the chariot.
Okay, I love this analogy. I want to spend some real time here because I think this is the user manual for being a human that he's offering.
Yeah.
Let's walk through the parts of the chariot.
Okay, so let's get you to visualize a horse-drawn chariot. First, you have the chariot itself, the physical vehicle. That is your body. It's just the hardware.
Got it. Body is the car.
Perfect. Inside the chariot, there is a rider, the passenger, the owner. That is the Atman or the self, the pure witness. And notice, the rider isn't driving. He's just observing the journey.
Okay, so the soul, my true self, is just the passenger. It's not in control. Who's driving this thing?
The charioteer, the driver, is the buddhi, or the intellect. This is your decision-making faculty, your discernment, your wisdom.
The part that's supposed to know where to go?
Supposed to, yes. The charioteer holds the reins. The reins represent the manas, or the mind. This is the mechanism of attention and thought, constantly processing sensory input.
Okay, so intellect drives, using the mind as reins. What's pulling it all?
Finally connected to the reins are the horses. And the horses represent the senses sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. They are the engine.
And they're running on the roads.
And the roads they travel on are the sense objects, everything in the world around us that our senses can perceive.
Okay, let's put this into a real-world scenario so we can see how it works.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm on a diet. That's my goal. But I walk past a bakery and I smell fresh donuts.
A perfect and very difficult example. So, the road you're on contains a sense object, the donut.
A very powerful sense object.
Very powerful. The horses, your senses in this case, smell and sight, they go wild. They want to veer off the road toward the bakery. They start pulling hard in that direction.
I know this feeling well.
No, that pull travels up through the reins, which is your mind. Your mind starts racing. Oh, just one won't hurt. I'll skip dinner later. It smells so good. I deserve it.
Yep. This is usually where I crash the chariot.
Exactly. Now, in what Yama would call a bad chariot, what is the charioteer, the intellect, doing during all this?
He's probably asleep at the wheel. Or maybe he's drunk. He's not paying attention.
Exactly. The intellect has no resolve, no clarity, so he lets the reins go slack. The mind goes chaotic. And the horses run wherever they want. You eat the donut, then you feel bad. Then you give up on the diet entirely. The chariot goes off the cliff. Yama calls these wicked horses.
Okay, so what does a good chariot look like in that same situation?
In a good chariot, the charioteer, the intellect, is awake and alert. He sees the donut, he feels the horses pulling, but he holds the reins, the mind tight.
He doesn't let go?
He doesn't. He says, I feel the urge, I acknowledge the desire, but we are not going there. That is not our destination. The mind calms down, the horses obey, the chariot stays on the path.
I really like this because it explains why we do stupid things, or things that are against our own best interests. It's not that we're fundamentally bad or evil. It's that our charioteer is asleep. We have a weak intellect trying to govern these wild senses.
Precisely. It's a hierarchy of control. Yama says that if you want to reach the ultimate destination, which is immortality or freedom, you have to have vijnana, which means understanding or discernment. You have to train the charioteer to control the horses.
It really does sound like he's describing a clear flow of command.
He is. And he actually maps out a whole hierarchy of reality based on this. This is where we get into the layer cake of existence. I'll simplify it a bit because it gets pretty dense.
Please do.
He says, the senses, the horses, are strong. But the objects of the senses, the roads, are stronger because they are what trigger the senses in the first place.
Okay.
Stronger than the objects is the mind, the reins. Stronger than the mind is the intellect, the charioteer. And stronger than the intellect is something he calls the great self, the Mahan Atman.
The great self. Is that the rider in the chariot?
It's the rider's cosmic connection. Think of it like this. Your computer, your body, has software, your mind. That software is run by an operating system, your intellect. But that operating system is connected to the internet, the great self. You aren't just an isolated unit. You are part of a vast, interconnected network.
It goes even deeper.
It does. Beyond that is the unmanifest, the pure potential for everything. And finally, at the very top, the source of it all is the Purusa, the person, pure consciousness itself. And Yama says, beyond the Purusa, there is nothing. That is the final goal.
So the journey of life, or at least the spiritual life he's describing, is to withdraw your attention from the horses and the roads, from the outside world, and pull it back layer by layer until you find the rider.
Yes. And that process of pulling back, that is the definition of yoga.
Ah, okay. That's a huge point. Because when people hear yoga today, they think of Lululemon pants and downward dog poses. But Yama gives a definition here that has nothing to do with stretching.
Not at all. In the 6th chapter, or Valley, He gives one of the earliest clear definitions of yoga in history. He says, when the five senses are stilled, along with the mind, and the intellect does not stir that, they call the highest state.
Stilling the senses, the mind, and the intellect.
He defines yoga as firmly reigning in the senses. It's the state of the chariot when the horses are perfectly still and just waiting for a command from an alert driver.
The intellect does not stir. That sounds incredibly difficult. My intellect is stirring constantly. It's worrying about emails, bills, what I said 5 years ago at a party.
It is difficult. Yama admits it. He says yoga is the coming into being as well as the ceasing to be. It's hard to maintain. You slip in and out of it.
It's not a permanent state you just achieve one day.
Not for most. But he gives a very weird, very specific image to help us understand what we're looking for inside ourselves. He talks about a thumb-sized person.
A little guy the size of the thumb. Living where? In my heart.
In the cave of the heart, yes. It's a metaphor, obviously, for something very subtle and small but central. He says this inner self, this thumb-sized essence, must be drawn out from the body like a reed from its sheath.
Like pulling the soft core out of a stalk of grass.
Exactly. Have you ever tried to do that? You have to be so steady. If you pull too hard, it breaks. If you're too shaky, it won't come out. You have to learn to separate you, the observer, from your body with patience and firmness. He calls this inner person a smokeless fire.
Smokeless fire.
Yeah.
Meaning pure consciousness without the smoke of confusion and desire.
That's it.
I want to get to the ending, but there's one more image that really stood out to me. The tree.
The Ashvatha tree, yes.
He describes a tree, but it's upside down. The roots are in the sky, and the branches are down here in our world.
It's a beautiful, powerful inversion of how we normally think. We usually think the material world, the ground beneath our feet, is the root of reality, and all that spiritual stuff is just airy-fairy branches. Yama flips it completely. He says the root, the true source of all existence, is Brahman, the unmanifest, up above in the unseen, this physical world we live in. These are just the leaves and branches hanging down from that single source. If you want to be free, you don't climb down to the leaves. You climb up to the root.
And he says you have to cut the knots of the heart. What are those?
The knots are our attachments, our ignorance, our desires, our fears. Yama says if you can cut those knots while you are still alive, not after you die, but right now, in this body, then a mortal becomes immortal.
Immortality is something you achieve here and now.
That is a radical claim.
Which brings us to the end of the story, the physiology of the exit. He gets surprisingly anatomical all of a sudden.
He does. He mentions 101 veins or channels of the heart. He says one of them, the sushumna, leads upward to the crown of the head.
Okay.
And he says at the moment of death, if your consciousness exits through that specific upward channel, you attain immortality. You don't come back. But if you exit through any of the other 100 channels, you just go back into the cycle of rebirth.
It's like a subway map for the soul. And there's only one express train to Grand Central and 100 local trains back to Brooklyn. You have to catch the right one.
In a way, yes. But it's really about focus. Where is your attention at the moment of death? Is it on the branches, the world, your money, your regrets? Or is it focused on the root, the divine source?
So does Nachiketa make it? Does he get his diploma from the University of Death?
He does. The text concludes by saying Nachiketa successfully attained this knowledge and the rules of yoga taught by death. And as a result, he became free from aging and death, attaining Brahman.
He beat the system.
And then the text adds this little tagline, which I love. It says, so will others who know this teaching about the self.
It's an open invitation.
It is. Nachiketa's was just the pioneer. The path is open to anyone who has the courage to rein in their horses.
So let's land this plane. We've gone from a family dispute over some old cows to a conversation with death to a profound lesson on consciousness. What is the big takeaway for someone listening to this on their commute today?
I think the biggest shift is how we view death itself. At the beginning of the story, death is a terrifying end. It's a punishment. But by the end of the story, death is a teacher. He is the only one who can explain life.
It suggests that if you really want to understand who you are, you have to confront the fact that you aren't going to be here forever. That deadline is what gives life its meaning.
Exactly. And the final, most provocative thought for me, the one to really mull over, is this. The Katha Upanishad implies that immortality isn't a place you go to. It's not heaven. It's a perception you unlock.
How so?
Yama says, from death to death, he goes, who sees here any kind of diversity?
Who sees diversity? That's interesting. Meaning, if you see the world is broken up into all these little separate pieces, me versus you, my team versus your team, life versus death, you're trapped in that cycle.
Yes, but if you can see the unity, the one smokeless fire running through every single person and thing, then you are free. You realize the chariot might break down, the horses might die, but the rider is untouched.
That is a lot to chew on. Listeners, maybe you take a look at your own chariot today. Check on the driver, tighten the reins, and maybe ask yourself, who is actually watching the road?
Indeed.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.